You sit beside the window. The day has been long, and the light outside is beginning to soften, slipping from gold to gray. And there it is, still as ever. The leaf. Its shape so familiar that you almost forget to notice it. But not tonight. Tonight, you stay a little longer. You look at the curve of it, the way it holds its body outward, as if listening to the sky. It does not fidget. It does not complain. And yet it is doing something. Something ancient. Something astonishing. Without noise, without hands, without thought. You notice the green. Not just one shade, but a living spectrum. Emerald near the veins, a softer olive near the tips, fading into yellow where time has kissed it. It glows a little when the sunlight catches it just right. And in that glow, there is work. There is purpose. You wonder, what is happening in there? What is it that the leaf knows how to do, that even machines cannot do quite so well? The answer floats gently toward you. It turns sunlight into life. It weaves the intangible into the edible, the invisible into the essential. But the leaf does not rush. It waits. It receives. Light falls, and the leaf opens like a quiet hand. Each cell inside begins its rhythm, not fast, not frantic. Just steady, like breath. And suddenly, you are breathing too. Slowly, consciously. As if your lungs remember that they, too, are part of this quiet choreography. The leaf inhales sunlight. You inhale peace. There are veins in that leaf, like tiny rivers. You imagine them flowing, not with water alone, but with meaning. As if they carry messages between sky and soil. From the root that holds, to the tip that reaches. Outside the window, wind brushes through branches. The leaves flutter, but the one you are watching holds steady, as if to say, stillness is not emptiness. Stillness can be full of work, full of wonder. And you start to feel it, a slowing in your shoulders, a softness in your thoughts. Because if the leaf can take its time, so can you. If the leaf can turn quiet into energy, you can turn this moment into rest. You do not need to know everything at once. You only need to begin noticing the shape of the green, the rhythm of light, the way your own breath mirrors the pulse of the world. You begin to see how a leaf is not passive. It is not idle. It is precise, deliberate, and wise. It waits for light, but only the right kind. It knows how to take in and how to give back. You remember now, the air you breathe, the oxygen, it began inside the stillness. A byproduct of patience. A gift from something that asked for nothing in return. And in that giving, the leaf makes no sound. You realize that much of the world's magic is silent. It does not shout to be seen. It does not perform. It simply is. And in being, it changes everything. Your gaze softens again. The leaf is still there. Still glowing faintly with the remnants of the day's light. Still making food for the plant. Still releasing breath for the world. It reminds you that life is not always loud. That transformation can begin in quiet places. That something as small as a patch of green can carry the wisdom of the sun. And just as your eyes begin to close, you wonder, if the leaf welcomes light so gently, what is light really? What does it mean to catch it? To cradle it? To turn it into something you can hold? And as your body slips deeper into stillness, you follow that question toward the next unfolding, where light is not a command, but a quiet visitor at the door. The next morning begins not with sound, but with light. It spills in gently, through branches and curtains across your skin. Soft at first, like a whisper in the dark. It does not push. It does not demand. It simply arrives. And the leaf, the same one from your window, it is ready. Not tense, not hurried. Just open, like a hand unfolding toward the sky. Inside that leaf, something extraordinary happens. A photon, a single packet of light, touches a pigment called chlorophyll. You picture it now, a ripple on a still pond, a tap on a sleeping shoulder. It is not a shove. It is an invitation. And chlorophyll, the deep green heart of the leaf, says yes. Not with words, not even with motion, but with movement of energy, a dance inside the molecules, a shiver of recognition. The photon does not linger. Its life is brief but meaningful. In striking the pigment, it gives away its energy, freely, completely, like a gift left at the door. And that energy wakes something. It stirs the electrons inside the leaf's machinery. Electrons that have waited patiently through the dark now begin to leap, not aimlessly, but with purpose. You imagine them now, like sparks across stepping stones. Each jump precise, each destination prepared. The path is known, but the journey is always new. And you feel it too. That light on your skin, that warmth across your eyelids. It does not command your body to move, but slowly, gently, it calls you to rise. You are more like the leaf than you think. Light, after all, is not just brightness. It is energy, and energy is potential. It waits, always, for something willing to receive it. In the leaf, this receiving is sacred. It begins a chain of reactions, turning the gift of sunlight into something far more lasting. The ingredients for sugar, the building blocks of life. You picture a room with no noise, no motors, no engines, just a series of quiet handoffs. From light to pigment, from pigment to protein, from energy to structure. And it all begins with a choice. To take in the light, to say yes to the sun's offering. Your breath slows with that thought. You realize your body too is constantly offered energy. From food, from warmth, from kindness, from rest. And like the leaf, you get to decide how to hold it, what to turn it into. The sun does not ask for thanks. The light does not keep score. It shines for the leaf and the stone alike. It touches the tallest trees and the smallest moss. And yet, not all light is accepted. The leaf knows to filter, to choose. Some wavelengths it absorbs with joy. Others, it reflects, letting them go like rain from a roof. You begin to wonder, what kinds of light do you accept into yourself? What do you take in? What do you reflect away? The leaf has no fear in its choices. It trusts the wisdom built into its cells. It knows that not every glow is meant for growth. It knows that receiving is a form of discernment. And still it waits, not for more but for enough. Enough light to begin. Enough light to transform. The moment a photon lands and is accepted, the ritual begins. It does not rush. There is no explosion. Only quiet transformation. Electrons shift. Energy flows. Structures inside the chloroplast begin their work. And so much of this happens before the sun is even high in the sky. Before you have stirred your tea or opened your eyes fully. Already, the world is making food. Already, the day is being built from particles that have no weight. Is it not astonishing that something so massive, the sun, can send messengers so small, photons, to dance upon something so still, a leaf, and from that make something so complex, life? You feel it now, not just in your mind, but in your chest. That gentleness, that grace. Light is not loud, and still, it changes everything. Your thoughts drift to what happens next, to where that energy goes once caught, to the paths it takes, the choices it makes, how it is held, stored, shaped. Inside the chloroplast, a tiny green world within a cell, the light's energy is passed from hand to hand, until it reaches the places where chemistry becomes creation. You do not know all the details yet, but you know this. The leaf does not act alone. It calls on water. It calls on roots. And in the meeting of sun and soil, the true dance begins. And just as your body softens into the rhythm of this thought, you find yourself wondering, what happens when water joins the light? What happens when two invisible forces meet in the green? The answer waits, somewhere deep inside the leaf. And in the next breath, you will begin to follow it. You follow the light now, not as a beam, but as an idea. It has been absorbed, transformed, handed along, and now it travels deeper. Deeper into the green. Inside the leaf, beyond the soft skin, beyond the veins, is a world so small you cannot see it, yet so precise, entire forests depend on its choreography. This world is the chloroplast. You imagine it as a room inside the leaf, a chamber where sunlight is not just welcomed, it is worshipped. Everything inside the chloroplast is built to serve the light, to honor it, to make something of it. Its walls are made of membranes, soft and selective. They keep the rhythm of the reactions inside steady. Not too fast, not too slow. Only what the light provides. Only what the leaf needs. You float in now, slowly. Inside the chloroplast, you find another world. Tiny stacks of structures called thylakoids. They look like soft, green coins stacked gently in columns. And within those stacks, the dance begins. Each thylakoid is laced with pigment molecules, the most famous of which is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is not just green. It is a catcher of light, a holder of power. You imagine it like a net, woven tightly from atoms, open only to light. When photons arrive, when sunlight touches the net quivers, passes on the gift and waits for the next. This is where the light reactions begin. But the name is misleading. There is no fire, no heat, no blaze, only the quiet passing of energy, from pigment to pigment, like a whispered secret. You see the energy flow, from one chlorophyll molecule to the next, each one slightly more ready than the last to hold it, to move it forward. This chain is called the electron transport chain. But you do not need to remember the name. You only need to feel its rhythm. It is like music played on molecules. Each step hums with potential. And at the end of this journey, the light's gift is transformed into something the cell can use. The chloroplast takes sunlight and turns it into currency. Not money, but molecules that carry energy. Their names are long. Their forms are small. But their power is immense. They are like batteries fully charged. And soon, they will be spent to build sugar, to build life. But for now, you stay inside the light reactions. You watch as water, drawn up from the roots, is split. Not by force, but by need. The chloroplast needs electrons. And water provides. The splitting of water releases three gifts. Electrons, which continue the journey. Hydrogen ions, which help build energy. And oxygen, a quiet exhale. You picture that oxygen rising from the leaf in tiny bubbles, drifting into the air, becoming breath, becoming the air you took in just moments ago. And still, the leaf asks for nothing. Still, the chloroplast works in silence. There is no rush here, just sequence, just grace. One molecule hands off to the next, like dancers in a slow, celestial circle. You float between the thylakoids, feeling the pulse of the light, steady, warm, sure. Everything here is balanced. The light reactions create just enough. Enough energy to continue, enough power to build. And you begin to realize, this glow inside the chloroplast is not the light of fire, but the light of understanding. The leaf is not just reacting. It is remembering. It is practicing something it has done 1,000,000 times before, and will do 1,000,000 times again. The glow here is sacred, not because it is rare, but because it is constant. You begin to imagine the scale of it, not just this leaf, but every leaf, on every tree, in every forest, all glowing, all dancing, all transforming sunlight into life. Even now, in the darkness of night, the memory of that light remains. So, waiting, because the light reactions are only part of the story. They create the ingredients. But the building, the true crafting of sugar, that happens elsewhere. Not in the stacks of thylakoids, but in the open space between them, the stroma. And in that space, a new rhythm waits. Slower, deeper, a cycle that does not need sunlight directly, but depends entirely on what the light has given. You rest there, hovering between what has been captured and what will be made. You feel the potential in the air, the quiet readiness of the chloroplast's inner rooms. You know the light reactions are complete now. ADP and NE, like full satchels of energy, are ready to be spent. But the leaf does not rush. It moves in time with the sun, in time with the seasons, in time with its own needs. And you drift with it, calm and curious. Because now the question lingers like mist. What does the leaf do with the energy it has made? And what kind of sweetness can be built in the dark? You do not see it happen. The water rising through the stem, climbing from the soil with no fanfare. But the leaf feels it and welcomes it. From deep underground, through threads of root hair, water is drawn upward, drop by drop, molecule by molecule. It flows through xylem, the plant's quiet plumbing. A column of thirst, pulled not by pressure, but by longing. The leaf opens its pores, tiny mouths called stomata, and as water enters from below, light enters from above. This is the moment, the meeting of sun and soil, the quiet convergence of two ancient forces. And inside the leaf, inside the thylakoids you visited before, the water waits, while the chlorophyll sings. You return now to that green, glowing room. The chloroplast is no longer still. It is a stage, and the dance has begun. Sunlight strikes the pigment. Electrons are launched, full of energy, eager to leap. But they cannot leap alone. They need partners. They need a path. So water steps in. Each molecule of H2O, small, clear, simple, is split apart, not by violence, but by light's steady invitation. The oxygen is let go, not wasted but released. You imagine it now, a molecule of O2 drifting upward, joining others, becoming the very air around you. This is photosynthesis, not a reaction, but a relationship. Water is not used, it is transformed. Light is not burned, it is handed down. And what remains? Protons, electrons, and potential. The electrons join the dance, carried along the electron transport chain, spreading their gift of energy from pigment to pigment, each step lighting up the next. Protons, hydrogen ions, build up inside the thylakoid. They wait, press, pull together, until finally they are allowed to rush out, spinning a tiny machine called ATP synthase. You do not need to remember the name, only the feeling of pressure building and then release, of turning, of creation. The plant now has ATP energy wrapped in a molecule ready to be spent, and a gentle carrier of electrons, safe and secure. Both were born from the sun. Both were shaped by water. Both now wait to feed the next phase. But you pause here, inside this shimmering moment, to feel what has just happened. A photon traveled 93 million miles, touched a leaf, and turned water into breath, energy into potential, stillness into song. It is quiet, but it is not simple. It is slow, but it is not passive. This is the wisdom of the plant, to take the two most ordinary things, water and light, and combine them into something more, something edible, something necessary, something sweet. But sweetness comes later. For now, you stay with the light, with the water, and you begin to notice how much the plant listens before it acts. The leaf waits for light. The roots wait for rain. The stomata open only when it is safe. Everything in balance. Everything in time. There is no rush, no panic, only rhythm, only readiness. And as you breathe now, your breath carries the gift of this exchange. The oxygen you inhale was once held in water, split gently by sunlight, and released by a leaf. You are part of this cycle, even as you sleep, even as you dream. The water continues to rise. The light continues to fall. And the leaf, patient as always, continues to transform. You picture the oxygen rising through the forest, invisible ribbons weaving through branches. You picture the water, leaving its roots behind, to become part of something far above. And you picture the leaf, brimming with energy, ready now, ready to build, ready to take the raw materials it has gathered, AP, NH, carbon dioxide, and begin a different kind of work. Not chasing light, but shaping darkness. Not catching energy, but crafting form. And you begin to wonder, what does the leaf build in the absence of light? What does it do when the sun steps back? That story begins in the stroma, and it begins now. You close your eyes, but inside your mind, you follow a path that cannot be seen. It begins with a spark, a single photon. It touches the leaf, and something stirs. A chlorophyll molecule catches it, and deep inside, an electron rises. It does not walk. It leaps. It disappears from its home and begins a strange journey. Not a straight line, not a road, but really from one carrier to the next. Each stop along the way is perfectly placed. A protein here, a molecule there, waiting, ready to receive. You drift alongside this electron, watching it jump, as if pulled by invisible threads. It is not aimless. It moves with purpose. It moves because the leaf has designed the path. This journey is called the electron transport chain. But it does not feel like a machine. It feels like a dance. The electron passes through photosystem 2, a quiet gate where light first touches the system. Then onto plastoquinone, a tiny raft that carries it to the next port. And then deeper still. At each step, the electron leaves a little of its energy behind. Not all at once, but slowly, like drops of rain sliding down a window pane. That energy is not lost. It is used to pull protons across the membrane, to build tension, to store potential. And just when the electron seems tired, it is struck by light again. Another photon enters, and the electron leaps once more, refreshed, re-energized. You see now how nothing is wasted. Even an electron, a particle so small, is guided, protected, honored. You float beside it as it reaches its final destination, the protein called ferredoxin, and then NADP reductase. Here last, the electron is passed to a waiting molecule, Ne, which becomes Ne. It is like placing a glowing coal into a small, quiet satchel. The journey is complete, and now the energy can be carried to the places where sugar will be made. But you linger here, inside this quiet maze of proteins and pigments, because it feels like a temple. The walls are not stone, they are folded proteins. The air is not incense, it is charge and flow, and the light that fills the space does not burn, it hums. The electron's journey is strange, because it follows a logic that is not human. It jumps between energy levels. It tunnels through the improbable. It disappears, then reappears. You realize, this is quantum. This is where physics blurs into biology. The leaf does not need to understand quantum mechanics. It simply obeys the deep patterns of nature. And your body, too, carries electrons. They flow through your cells, through your nerves, through your heartbeats. Your very thoughts are electrical. You are not separate from this leaf. You are made of the same movement. You are just a different kind of dance. The leaf is older, more patient, but you share a rhythm. And so, as the electrons reach their final carriers, you breathe in. You know that energy will not stay trapped. It will be used. It will build something sweet, something vital. It will enter the stroma, and it will help stitch together carbon. The journey of the electron is done, but another begins. A journey that does not leap, but turns in cycles. A journey that builds, not light, but sugar. And as you drift deeper into calm, you begin to follow it. You have followed the light. You have followed the electron. Now you drift into the calm between, where light is no longer needed, but its memory still glows. You enter the stroma, the quiet space surrounding the thylakoid stacks. It is not empty. It is a workshop, hushed, careful, deliberate. Here, sugar is born, but not in a blaze, not in a flash. It forms slowly, patiently, from molecules shaped by sunlight and carbon drawn from the air. You begin to see it now. The Calvin cycle, not a circle, but a spiral of gentle change. It begins with carbon dioxide, 3 molecules floating in from the air. They are invisible, weightless, but they are the building blocks of life. You imagine them as puzzle pieces, unfinished, undefined, each one waiting to become part of something whole. A quiet enzyme waits to greet them, Rubus CO. You may not remember its name, but it remembers its purpose. It is the matchmaker between carbon and the cycle. It binds each carbon to a 5-carbon sugar called RuBP. You see them pair off like dancers finding their steps. But the pairing is unstable. The 6-carbon forms split immediately into 2 sets of 3. You drift beside these new molecules. 3-phosphoglycerate. They are plain, raw, like flour before it becomes bread. They are not yet sugar. They are not yet sweet. But they carry potential. And in the stroma, potential is never wasted. Now the energy arrives. ATP and NH, born of light. They enter like guests with gifts in hand. ATP donates energy, NADH donates electrons, and the 3 carbon chains are transformed. They become G3P, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, a small name for a great purpose. You imagine G3P as soft beads of light, each glowing gently, each carrying within it the instructions for something more. Some of these beads will stay in the cycle, recycled to keep it turning, but just one out of every 6, will leave. It steps out of the rhythm and begins its next life as the foundation of glucose. You picture it drifting outward, into the leaf, into the stem, into the fruit that will grow. It is sweetness, built in shadow. It is energy that once came from a sunbeam. You marvel now at the journey. The photon, the water, the electrons, the charge, all of it converging here to make something soft, something edible. It is a kind of magic, but not the kind that defies nature. The kind that is nature, in its most patient form. And the leaf does this every day, every hour, every time the light returns. But it saves this work, this sugar making, for the space between beams. It builds in the dark. You think about your own moments in the dark, the thoughts that come quietly, the healing that begins without an audience, the ways your mind weaves rest into repair. You and the leaf are not so different. It waits for the light, but it also works in the quiet. It also transforms without fanfare. You feel your breath deepen as you picture the Calvin cycle turning again. Carbon Indiana. Sugar out. No noise. No fire. Just form, woven from the invisible. And as G3P leaves the stroma, to become starch, cellulose, or nectar, you follow it. You wonder where it will go. Will it become the soft flesh of an apple? The crispness of lettuce? The strength of bark? Or will it stay inside the plant, fueling more growth, building more leaves, catching more light? It does not know. It only becomes. And in that becoming, it offers itself. You too are made of what you've received. The food you eat, the air you breathe, the light that touches your skin. All of it begins here, with this quiet workshop. Inside the green, you think again of the cycle. Not just the Calvin cycle, but the greater turning of sun to plant, of plant to sugar, of sugar to body, a body to breath, a breath to sky, of sky to carbon, of carbon back into the leaf. Nothing is lost, only changed. And now, as the stroma quiets again, and the sugar drifts outward into the plant, you begin to sense something else. Another element at work. Not carbon, not light, but memory. Because what happens to this sugar? where it is sent, how it is used, depends on the plant's needs, its history, its season. You begin to feel it. Photosynthesis is not just chemistry. It is choice. It is intelligence. And so, as your body sinks into the soft earth of sleep, you wonder, can a plant remember? And if so, what does it remember in its roots? You lie still now, blanketed by quiet, and begin to feel the weightless drift of time. There is something ancient in your breath, something older than you, older than cities, older than thought. It is carbon, and tonight you follow it, not as a scientist, not as a scholar, but as a listener, because carbon does not speak in sentences. It speaks in cycles, in form, in transformation. It speaks through everything that lives. You return to the leaf, not the one from yesterday, but perhaps one from a forest far away, on a tree you have never seen. It opens to the sun. It pulls in a molecule of carbon dioxide, CO, from the open air, from the sky that holds forgotten fires and breath long exhaled. That single carbon atom is added to the cycle, the Calvin cycle, the quiet spiral that turns energy into form. It is stitched into sugar, simple but full of potential. Now the carbon is no longer floating. It has weight. It has direction. It may become the edge of a leaf, the skin of a peach, the tip of a root. It may become a drop of nectar, or the bark that will hold the memory of winter. And when that leaf is eaten, by a caterpillar, by a deer, the carbon moves again. It enters a new body. It is broken down, burned for energy. It becomes breath once more. CO2, released again into air, back to the sky, back to the waiting leaves. This is carbon's long conversation. It is never in one place for long. It cycles through soil, through lungs, through oceans. It has no true beginning and no end. You too are part of it. The carbon in your bones once belonged to something green. The carbon in your breath was once a leaf, the fruit, a flame. Even now, with each exhale, you return it, not as a loss, but as a gift. You realize something. Your body is not a thing. It is a moment, a pause in carbon's journey. You are a form carbon has taken, briefly, before it moves on. And the plants, they receive it again, with grace, without resistance. They do not cling to what they build. They release. And in releasing, they begin again. You start to wonder, what else do you carry that once belonged to the sky? What else inside you was once light, or tree, or breath? You begin to sense that the world is not made of parts. It is made of pathways, of crossings, of returnings. And carbon is the thread that weaves it together. It does not rush. It does not forget. It remembers drought. It remembers fire. It remembers feast and famine, and carries those memories forward into each new form. A tree shaped by wind grows different rings. A vine grown in shade stores different sugar. Each leaf, each stem, each fruit is a note in the long song of carbon. And what a soft song it is. No chorus, no end, just verses added quietly, generation after generation. You are singing it now, with every breath, with every cell in your body that rebuilds from the food you eat, and that food is sunlight held in carbon. You feel smaller now, but not in fear, in wonder, because you realize nothing you are is wasted. Nothing you've been will be forgotten. You are part of the story. You are part of the loop. And the leaf, the one you watched at the window, the one you followed through light and water, it is still speaking, still answering the sky, with its quiet yes. And tomorrow, when the sun returns, it will open again. It will take in what you released. It will make it new again. And so will you. But tonight, before sleep fully folds over your thoughts, you feel one more question linger gently in the dark. If the carbon remembers, then what does the oxygen carry as it leaves the leaf and enters your lungs? You return now to the moment of splitting, to the quiet tension held in a drop of water, to the leaf that accepts the sun and begins again. Inside the chloroplast, as light touches chlorophyll and electrons leap, water is gently taken apart, not destroyed, transformed. 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen. The hydrogens stay, their protons useful, their electrons needed, but the oxygen, it is let go. You imagine it now. A single O2 molecule, born from water, lifted into the air by light. It rises through the leaf's small openings, the stomata, and enters the invisible world. No celebration, no sound, just release. Like a sigh from a sleeping tree. That molecule drifts. It floats among the others, joining wind and cloud and pollen. It waits for a destination, and perhaps, tonight, it finds you. You inhale, and in it comes, a molecule made by light, released by green, held now in your chest. You do not thank the leaf, but it does not need thanks. It gave the oxygen freely, without contract, without condition. It was simply time. Inside your lungs, the oxygen is passed from air to blood, from alveoli to capillary. It binds to hemoglobin, red cells like tiny boats, ferrying it through rivers of you. It reaches your tissues, your muscles, your brain. There, it lets go again. It joins with the carbon inside you, and together, they become carbon dioxide. The cycle continues. But before it leaves, that oxygen does something extraordinary. It fuels you. It gives your cells the final ingredient. They need to unlock energy. From food, from sugar, from light made solid. Without it, the spark dims. With it, you stay alive. So you breathe again. Not out of habit now, but in wonder. Because this small motion of chest and air is the closing of a loop that began in green. The oxygen was not meant to stay. It was never meant to be stored. It was made to move, to pass, to serve. You feel your ribs lift once more. You take in what the leaf let go. You release what the leaf will take back. It is quiet. It is simple. It is profound. The oxygen knows no borders. It touches insect wing and lion's breath, mountain frost and ocean swell. It binds us all. Inhale to exhale, root to vein. The tree you walked by this morning might have made the breath you take now, and the breath you return might find its way into a blade of grass. Far from here, there is no control, only trust. You begin to see the leaf differently now, not just as a worker of light, but as a giver of breath. Its every act of photosynthesis releases life into the air, and though it may never see the ones who breathe it, it gives anyway, freely, faithfully, endlessly. You begin to wonder, what else in the world gives without knowing where its gift will go? What else exhales with no demand, no pride, no fear? The leaf does not hoard. It does not hold tight. It lets go. And perhaps that is what makes it sacred. As you breathe in again, the softness in your chest deepens. Not just rest, but reverence. For the unseen work. For the silent gift. For the ancient leaf. And now, as you begin to slip into stillness, you feel the leaf waiting once more. Not just to give, but to listen. Because above it, beyond its green hands, is a sky full of light. And somewhere, the forest prepares to think in beams. You step into the forest, not with your feet, but with your breath. The oxygen you just received was shaped by this place, by leaves above and roots below, by a network older than memory. At first, it seems still, trunks unmoving, branches silent, a canopy casting dappled shade. But wait, listen, the forest is not quiet. It hums, not in sound, in intention. Each leaf lifts toward the light. Each tree angles for a patch of sun. And where it cannot reach, it remembers. This is not random. This is awareness. A different kind. A slower kind. Here thought does not race. It rises with the sun. It flows with water. It settles in bark and bud. You begin to see that trees are not alone. Their roots intertwine below the soil, touching, sensing, sharing. Fungi weave among them, mycorrhizal threads thinner than hair, carrying messages between species. This underground web allows a tree in shadow to borrow sugars from a tree in light, allows a tree under attack to send warnings. Chemical notes passed silently through the dark. You are walking through a mind that does not need a brain. A forest thinks in light. Photosynthesis is not just a function, it is strategy, it is timing, it is choice. A leaf will fold when water is scarce. A tree will hold its sugars when winter nears. An old oak may feed its own seedlings through secret, quiet tunnels of nourishment. And so, each day begins again with the same ritual. Sunlight arrives. Leaves awaken. The dance resumes. But it is not the same dance. No day is the same. No patch of sky, no flicker of shade. The leaves adjust. Minute by minute, they track the arc of the sun. This is not instinct. It is attention. Even in silence, the forest is listening. To light, to shadow, to wind, to one another. You are not separate. You stand beneath this canopy, your lungs full of its gift, your heartbeat softened by its rhythm. And if you stay long enough, you begin to feel it. A slowness in your thoughts, a calm in your limbs, as if the forest is inviting you to think in its language. Here, thinking does not mean racing. It means sensing. It means waiting. It means knowing when to be still and when to reach. The tree does not rush. It does not panic. Where it can, when it must. And when one branch fails, it tries another. You remember now that intelligence does not always look like us. It does not always speak, but it does respond. It adapts. It remembers. Some trees recall fires from 100 years ago, their seeds only opening in flame. Some leaves remember drought, holding tighter to their water, growing smaller, darker, wiser. You begin to sense that photosynthesis is more than conversion. It is communication. A leaf speaks to the sun. A root listens to the rain. A tree whispers across time, in sugars and shade. Even the forest floor plays a part, decomposing what once stood tall and feeding it to what now begins. There is no waste, no shame, only return. You breathe this in now, this deep green patience, this leafy thoughtfulness. And you wonder, if a forest can think in beams, can you? Can your thoughts move slower? Can they seek light without urgency? Can they hold stillness and still grow? You look up. Light filters through the leaves above. Not harsh, but softened by chlorophyll. Every beam is touched before it touches you. And perhaps that's what a forest offers. Filtered light, filtered time, a gentler way to see. So you linger, not to do, but to notice. The way the leaf tilts, the way the shadow breathes, the way everything everywhere is in quiet motion. You do not need to understand it all. You only need to feel the rhythm, because the forest is not trying to be mysterious. It is simply being, and in that being, it teaches. The forest tells you, light is not something to chase. It is something to welcome. Photosynthesis is not frantic. It is faithful, and the leaf does not ask, what will this become? It simply receives and transforms. You sit beneath that thought now, wrapped in shade, wrapped in breath. The trees hold stories in their rings. The roots hum with memory. And above you, the leaves begin again. Tomorrow, they will take in more light. Tomorrow, they will build more sweetness. And you will receive it. But for now, before the forest darkens completely, one more question glows softly in your mind. If the leaf feeds the tree, and the tree feeds the world, then who or what does the leaf choose to feed first? You are home again. Maybe not your house, but your body, still, warm, resting. And as you lie there, you realize something simple and quietly astonishing. Every bite you have ever eaten began with light. A bowl of rice, a slice of bread, peach in summer, even the milk in your tea. Each began in a leaf that turns sunlight into sugar, sugar into starch, starch into seed, seed into nourishment. And so the plant fed you, not just with food, but with time, with patience, with light made edible. You trace this back now. The sandwich you ate for lunch, the grains in the bread, the lettuce, the tomato, each one quietly made by photosynthesis, not in a factory, not with noise, but under open sky, with nothing more than light, water, and carbon. The chicken or egg or fish, even that began in the same place, fed by plants, fed by leaves, fed by sun. There is no escaping it. The light made you to fill the field, that grew the grain, that fed the animal, that fed the you. And now, as your body rests, you hold that energy. You are keeping sunlight in your bones, in your blood, in your breath. You are in some way a continuation of a leaf's decision to accept the sun. This thought slows you. It wraps around your ribs. It softens your chest. You are not separate from the plant. You are its echo. You are the sound it never made, finally spoken. The fruit did not ask where it would go. It ripened. It fell. It was offered. And you received. The sweetness you tasted was the plant's memory of sunlight. And now, it is part of your memory too. You picture that. The sugar in your cells, G3P glucose 80, buzzing quietly through your muscles and mind. You didn't think about it before. You didn't need to, because the plant already did. It did the complicated work, the invisible equations, the transformations. You just needed to chew, to swallow, to trust. You begin to wonder, what else have you received without knowing? How many unseen hands have lifted you forward? The plant, the water, the light. You have eaten all of them. And in that eating, you have become part of something larger than hunger. You have joined the exchange. You are not just a body, but a bridge. Light passes through you. Carbon passes through you. Memory passes through you. And now, in this quiet hour, you breathe again. Oxygen in, carbon out. And that carbon, it will find a plant. It will enter a leaf. It will become sweetness again. So the plant fed you. And now, you feed it back. Not just in death, but in life. In every breath. This loop is not poetic. It is precise. It is science. And also story. You begin to feel that everything you've learned tonight, about light, about water, about leaves and electrons and forests, has led you here to this final thought. Photosynthesis is not just a process. It is a kindness, repeated endlessly, given freely, shaped into fruit, pressed into seed, poured into oxygen. And when the plant gave, it did not ask who you were. It did not measure your worth. It simply grew. And now, as you lie still, you realize you are growing too. Your cells repair. Your breath deepens. Your thoughts slow. You have been fed by sun, by green, by a process that never needed your thanks. You give it a quiet thank you, a thank you to the leaf, to the unseen chloroplast, to the forest, to the field, to the plant that fed you. Without ever seeing your face, you close your eyes. You breathe once more. And just before you drift away, you feel it, the gentle pull of another question, a final thread in this long, soft story. If a leaf can make sugar from light, what quiet alchemy might your own rest be preparing in you?